Hello, welcome to Metal Gear Solid Free Snake Eater 101. I'm about to discuss the themes of Metal Gear Solid Free and its history and the history of what inspired the events in the game. Now, Metal Gear Solid Free is set during the Cold War, but it's mostly set during the Cuban Missile Crisis or after the Cuban Missile Crisis due to the fact that it's set in 1964. Also, around that time, the space race was going on. It's set in Russia, in the jungles of Russia. When I say that, it kind of sounds confusing because there are no jungles in Russia. The interesting thing is they could have easily set it in Vietnam because despite about that time, American GIs weren't in Vietnam. They were advisors, and he could be Snake could be one of the advisors or on a mission with the advisors, and it could kind of branch off into the story. Now, with the work of Ian Fleming, those stories are set in the day before World War III. Tom Clancy's work is set in the days where a type of future could happen. Hideo Kojima's games are set in events that happened in the past or are happening right now that we're not aware of. And this story is basically set during the Cold War, the 60s, and it's about a scientist who wants to defect to the West. This scientist was responsible for creating the technology that sent Yuri Gagarin into space. He believes that his weapon is now going to cause great destruction, so the CIA sent in Snake to bring it back, but unfortunately, it kind of led to the United States getting framed for dropping or firing a small projectile nuclear weapon on Russia. So the Russians try and blackmail the United States. But here's the problem: um, Russia, if they're blackmailing the United States, so the United States have to try and prove their innocence. In the Cold War, if the Russians are making them try to prove their innocence, it's making them do something. It's like they're missing defeat and they have to bow down to the Soviets. So that's kind of I don't think maybe Hideo Kojima might understand the Cold War, but that's just my opinion. Now these the bosses or the military operatives that Snake has to fight are vets of World War II who were responsible for bringing victory to the Allies. Are the Cobra unit and the Cobra unit's leader, Big Boss. There's one of them is the Pain, a guy who can control hornets. Another one who is the Fear, which is probably the worst one out of the group. There's the Sorrow, who is somewhat of a kind of semi-dead ghost-like figure and who uses kind of psychological attacks. There's the End, who's the group's sniper. The Fury, who um, is someone who's been out into space, and of course their leader, the boss. Eventually, Snake will have to defeat the boss, then which will cause him to take the title of Big Boss. The whole game is all about trying to get the Philosopher's Legacy, which was put into multiple banks who were loaned by Volgan's father. He's now trying to get the Philosopher's Legacy for the Russians, but now Snake is kind of on a mission. Well, he doesn't realize it, but he's trying to get the legacy for the United States, and Eva, who's a double agent working for the Chinese, is trying to get it for the Chinese. And it's really about that kind of story about the superpowers trying to gain control as much as kind of just trying to save the world. So yeah, that's Metal Gear Solid Free Snake Eater 101, and I hope you enjoyed my talk on it. And if you want to see other videos I've done, check out my channel. So this is Mac Media 1000. Have a nice day.